go ahead and get started here. I'm still figuring out how to make sure that this gets up and gets on, but we're going to go ahead and rock it out. And if people hop in, fantastic. And if not, then those of you who are watching this after the fact will get a chance to see the whole thing. So my name is Ann Jelinek, and I own Pulse Kettlebells and Yoga here in Madison, Wisconsin. And I have coached in DC and San Francisco. I have some clients kind of all over the country, and I love talking about this. I love talking about mindful eating and about the power that it can have, kind of in a nutrition practice and in a meditative practice, and how it can affect your goals and everything else. So as we get people kind of hopping in here, I'll probably say hi, but for the most part, we're going to go ahead and rock it out. So what I'll do is screen share. We'll do a little bit of a presentation. I will hop back on at the end. If you have questions or need anything and we're live, you are welcome to put something in the group chat. I believe I have that turned on, and if not, you can Facebook message me. I have my phone here. So we will go ahead and get started. So I'm gonna try the little screen share thing here, and you guys will get a picture of my super messy desktop probably, is my guess. Screen share, desktop. Okay, and then you guys should this here. So I'm gonna go ahead and play that. Let me double check and make sure. Yep, we are good to go. So I'm gonna go ahead and play this, and we will get started. So again, my name is Ann. This is Mindful Eating for Self-Care. Just talking about the kind of the importance of being able to care for yourself through nutrition, through eating. And again, if there are any issues that pop up, I do have my Facebook messaging on chat here, so you are welcome to pop up via my phone. So my website is right there, anjelinek.com. If you have questions or concerns or want to know a little bit more about me or about coaching, you are welcome to hop over there. All right, and next, about me. So again, there's my website. I am a strength coach and a yoga teacher, kind of traditionally is what I call myself. I'm still working on what I'm going to call myself, but I'm a Strong First Level 2 instructor. I have been teaching with Strong First, and before that, I was in the RQC community since 2010 or so about 5 years. I am just starting down my path with Z Health. I'm an ACE certified personal trainer, for what that is, and a registered yoga teacher. I'm about 300 hours and some change in, but I'm registered at 200 hours. So the other really important thing that I like to talk about with people is that I'm a recovering bulimic. I'm a recovering what's called EDNOS, eating disorder not otherwise specified, recovering exercise addict, and I like to call myself a recovering people pleaser. I have tended in the past to really make sure that other people are happy and taken care of before me. So what I really like to say I offer people, and this is kind of where we're trying to figure out what it is I actually offer and do and how to put it, but it's healing for humans in pain, people that are in physical pain, people that are, in emotional pain and are kind of feeling hopeless, seeking a bigger sense of life. And we tackle that through, again, some brain-based training, some muscle-based training, and mindfulness. So that's me. And I'll hop right in here. So my story, in probably 2000, I have to think about this now, 2003 or so, I was hospitalized for an eating disorder. I was very, very thin. This is probably a little bit, pretty close to about as thin as I got. For me, that's, it was a really rough time. I was really resistant to help, didn't think I had a problem. It was totally fine, and really struggled with the idea that I even had anything to work on. A few years after that, I had been in and out of the hospital probably 3 times by this point. And a few years after, I like to say I made the switch and kind of moved over into exercise addiction and bulimia. And I managed to maintain a pretty normal weight given the situation. But I was really just inflamed and really unhappy. I was working out probably 8 to 12 hours a week and just miserable. Really, I was in pain all the time. I was binging and purging in the middle of the night and trying to hide it, trying to train clients after that had gone through. So it was a pretty tough spot. I battled there for pretty close to 5 years, maybe a little more, pretending nothing was wrong. I was just on another diet. I was just having a bad day, and then I wasn't on another diet, and then I was having a bad day, and I went through cycles like that for years until I found a mindfulness coach, someone that I really trusted to help me kind of be in a more mindful space, be really present in my body and with what was going on. And after working with her for a few years, I kind of came to the point where I'm at now, which is really, I eat what I'm hungry for, and I don't eat what I'm not hungry for, and I feel really free. I think that the key word in all of this that I hope everyone can begin to wrap their heads around is that there's freedom in self-care. There's freedom in choosing what makes you feel alive and feel good. So we'll tap in first into what is mindless eating. So the idea being, what is it to eat mindlessly? And this is some of the descriptions of, just so you all know, this is actually a 4.5 hour workshop that I teach, or it's probably 4 to 8 weeks of client sessions, kind of all wrapped into 30 minutes. So we'll briefly kind of skim over some of this. But this is where people have kind of come up with descriptions for mindless eating. First one being eating past the point of full, where you get to that point where you just don't feel good. You didn't notice when you got full, so you just kept eating. Emotional eating, so in response to internal or external stress, just choosing to eat in response to stimulus rather than in response to hunger or not. Eating without noticing or tasting your food is a big one. Sometimes we'll eat something and not even notice that we ate it or notice that how it tasted, right? Eating without awareness of hunger and satiety signals, and this is probably one of the biggest challenges that I see clients come up against is, how do I know when I'm hungry? How do I know when I'm full? And that's something that we work on. Eating without noticing how much is a really good indicator that there is mindless eating occurring. You sit down on the couch and you've got that bag of Skinny Pop or Smart Pop or whatever you're eating, and then all of a sudden the bag's gone. And you're like, oh, how did that happen? I don't remember eating that much. So that's kind of a pretty big one. Eating without awareness and eating without noticing are two that people typically notice that they would call mindless. Eating while multitasking is another one. We sit down, we have our morning paper, we have our morning Kindle, whatever it is we read now, and eat while we do other things. We tend to eat in the car, we eat at our desk, we eat while we're standing up at the sink, yelling at the kids to stop painting the dog's toenails, whatever it is. But eating while multitasking, right? You're not focusing on what you're eating. And so I like to describe it that way. So the question becomes, if that is mindless eating, if mindless eating is eating without knowing what's going on in you while you eat, what is mindful eating? And there are a lot of different descriptions. There are a lot of ways I have seen this brought up and talked about. And the best description I found is by Susan Albers. She wrote Eat, Drink, and Be Mindful is the workbook, which I highly recommend. But she said, it is being more aware of your eating habits, the sensations you experience when you eat, and the thoughts and emotions you have about food. So it's more aware, right? Not black and white, always aware, always paying attention, but simply more aware than you already are of the sensations, right? What physical sensations are you having? The thoughts, what is your mind telling you? And the emotions, what are you feeling you have when you eat? And it really comes down to the fact that it's more about how you eat than what you eat. Right? It's more about how you are feeding yourself, how you are caring for yourself through nutrition, than it is about what you're eating. And this is tough. This is a really tough thing for a lot of people, because we get so wrapped up in dieting. We get so wrapped up in, I should have this much protein and this many carbs, and how many servings is a vegetable, and how many vegetables is a serving. And, there's all of these things that pop about what we should eat, and we stop paying attention to how we're eating. I love that in Fat Loss Happens on Monday by Josh Hillis and Dan John, part of their protocol is to eat slower. Eat slowly, stop when you're 80% full is a big thing for them. And that's huge, because it not only addresses what we're eating, but it addresses how you are consuming and how you are taking note of that as you consume. So that is mindful eating. And so the question then becomes, what is mindfulness? It's this kind of buzzword in the kind of the nutrition community. It's coming up. It's definitely in the yoga community and in more of the esoteric practices. We talk about mindfulness. But what the hell does that mean? What does it mean to be mindful? And the first tool, I guess that's kind of a good lead in to our first tool here, is mindfulness meditation and body scanning. Okay, mindfulness meditation is simply the process or the practice of noticing what is going on. It's that simple. It is simply the practice of noticing what is current, what is present, what is immediately here, and what is immediately happening. So mindfulness meditation being a seated opportunity on a regular basis to notice what is happening. And part of that we use a lot of times in practices like this is called body scanning. It's the idea of checking in with multiple parts of or your whole body to see what is going on. What do I feel? What do I notice? What sensations do I have? And how can I address those or allow them to pass through? So that's the big issue a lot of times that we see in mindfulness meditation is something arises, right? I'm sitting, I'm open to what arises, and something comes up. It could be an anxiety. And we're taught very many times in our society and our culture that something has come up that is unpleasant or something has come up that is pleasant. I need to do something about it. I immediately need to address this. Right? There must be a step I can take to get rid of that anxiety. There must be something I can do with this happiness to make it better or bigger. And this practice is infuriatingly immediate in that you don't do anything. You simply notice again, notice again. You check in, continue to check in with, yeah, there's still a little anxiety there. Wow, I feel happy. And then go back to just watching. And body scanning is the practice of applying that, again, one or more points in the body. So a basic body scanning technique that I would take clients through would be to start at the feet, noticing the feet on the ground, the interaction of the feet with the ground, and then the ankles, noticing the joint in the ankle and the skin of the ankle, noticing the shins and the calves. And then we begin to just check in with every point in the physical body. And in doing that, there tends to be a moment where the spiritual or the emotional or the breath or whatever pieces of the body that you notice arise will start to come up. And the scanning is simply a practice for getting into your own skin. Weirdly, anxiety and hunger can feel very similar. And this is a practice that can help you start to differentiate between I'm bored, I'm tired, I'm stressed out, or really, no, honestly, my stomach is empty and I'm hungry. So tool number one would be to do some mindfulness meditation and body scanning. Let me go into that a little more in the full workshop. And again, my clients practice it very regularly. I have one client right now that meditation has completely changed the course of her life just in doing this one practice that has led into so much else. So second tool, once you have learned to listen in, and this is probably the hardest of all of the tools, so I will give you a moment to take a deep breath, is using a hunger and fullness scale before, during, and after your meals and snacks. Okay, so using a hunger and fullness scale before, during, and after your meals and snacks. So most people can tell when they are relatively full. Sometimes, right, we notice like, oh, I feel like I need to loosen my belt, or like I just ate a really big Thanksgiving dinner. We know that feeling. We know what it feels like to feel overly full. And sometimes we don't know what it feels like to feel hungry, and vice versa. Some people don't understand full, don't know what that feels like. But hungry, there's a whole list of what counts as hungry, and it's not just a rumbling stomach. There is a list of, probably 8 or 10 hunger signals that we go over. Things like a little bit of a headache, right? Feeling a little bit foggy, feeling a little bit of fatigue. Sugar cravings can be indicators of actual physical hunger or fatigue. So just starting to notice on a scale of 1 to 10, and there's a very distinct scale that we can use. Scale of 1, I do it this way, 1 being I'm empty, right? I'm so hungry, I'm just so uncomfortable, and I'm shaky, and I'm tired, and my stomach is rumbling, and I feel kind of nauseated, and that's the bottom of the hunger scale for me. And full being, I just ate 2 servings at Thanksgiving dinner, and I just ate pie on top of it. That's the fullest. And there's a way during your meals to check along that scale. And I'm using my hands to talk, even though you guys can't see me. there's a way to check in with that, so you sit down for your meal and you have a few bites after you've noticed that you're at a 3, really pretty hungry. Have a couple of bites, you pause and go, oh, you know what, I'm pretty hungry, but I'm moving closer to a 4, and have a few bites and notice, yeah, I'm pretty a little fuller, I'm a little closer to a 5, maybe a 4 or a 5, and you continue that process until you've kind of gotten to the point where you're at about a 6 or a 7, right? You're pretty full, but not miserable. 80% is kind of the rule of thumb, and I think that, again, there are several other people that talk about the 80% full rule. But you would stop at about 80% or around a 7 on that scale of hunger or fullness. And then you check in, finish your meal, put away the dishes, whatever it's going to be, and notice, like, how do I feel now? And just practicing this, I'm hungry, I'm kind of hungry, I'm not so hungry, I'm kind of full, I'm pretty full, oh my God, I'm going to die full, can give you a much better indication of when it's time to eat and when it's time to stop. And, it takes approximately 20 minutes for leptin and ghrelin, which are the hunger and fullness hormones or chemicals in the body, to kick in and tell you, I'm hungry, no longer hungry, full. Takes almost 20 minutes. So really take time with your meals, continue to check in, and know that it'll take a little while for you to actually get a good feel for how hungry or how full you may still be. Okay. So tool 3 kind of goes into a little bit deeper when we start talking about nutrition. So we've figured out how hungry and full we are. Now, how do we decide what to eat? And in the workshop, we talk a lot about healthful versus treat foods, and healthful and treat foods, and the idea that there really isn't any good and bad food. A treat food is not bad for you. I'm going to leave that on the table there for a minute, that a Snickers bar is not bad for you. It is not a bad food. It may give you other results than you're looking for if you want to feel full for a long time and you want to feel energetic and you want to feel, light, and like you could go for a really long walk, right? Snickers bar probably isn't going to give you that. And there are days, right, where a salad is a really poor choice for me. I'm very vata pitta. So in the winter, in early spring, salads really bother me. Salads are not a healthy choice for my body. Probably neither is a Snickers bar, but just giving you the idea that there are times when one food or another may or may not be the right choice for you, even though traditional nutrition wisdom would say, oh, a salad is healthy. Maybe it's not for you that day. Maybe a salad is not a good choice. Maybe that day you need soup or something a little bit carbier or whatever. But just knowing that there are healthful foods, there are treat foods, there are no good, bad, or otherwise foods. And as the practice of this, we talk about there being a 48-hour day. And I don't know that if I've ever read this anywhere. I kind of just ended up doing it one day by accident. I noticed that I had a day where I just didn't eat particularly healthfully. I didn't feel very good about what I'd had. But instead of chucking that day aside and thinking, well, screw it, right? I had a bad day and I might as well just blow it out now. It was about 6 o'clock in the evening and I went, well, what if I were to balance that out? What if I were to take the next 24 hours and balance out, today? Today wasn't awful, it wasn't great, but I think I could have used some more veggies. What if I extended my nutrition cycle to 48 hours? And so kind of my 48-hour day was born. So I would encourage you, instead of writing days off as good or bad, start extending your nutrition cycle out into 48 hours. So when you look at needing, X serving of vegetables in one day, right? If you multiply that times 2, and kind of look at that over the course of 48 hours rather than just 24. It's a really short cycle, right? You get approximately 5 chances for most people to eat. 3 meals, 2 snacks is pretty average. That's a lot to try and do if you're having a particularly busy day. So just know that you have a little bit more wiggle room, that despite all the vitamin ads, you will not die of vitamin K deficiency if you do not get enough broccoli on Tuesday. Wednesday is also an adequate amount of time to get your vitamin K in. Okay, so that's tool 3. So it's thus far, the mindfulness meditation and body scanning is really kind of an overarching practice, something that I'd recommend, 5 to 10 minutes, at least 5 to 6 times a week. The hunger and fullness tool, using every time you sit down, the 48-hour day tool probably applying, when you need it. Some days you get everything you need, some days you don't. But they're all pretty applicable, very solid things. And the next one is a little bit more of a behavior change psychology idea. So it's the idea that there are triggers, right? There are things in our lives that push us to do one thing or another, right? We go to Thanksgiving dinner with our grandma and we have food pushed on us. And that makes us feel one way or another, and we react to that. That would be considered a trigger. Or your boss yells at you, and that could be considered a trigger. And I chose the characters from Disney's Inside Out, or Pixar, I think, I can't remember, because these are so true, right? We have all these little things that nudge us to do one thing or another, and we tend to think, well, that's bad. We have this idea that a trigger is a bad thing. It's associated, honestly, with a gun, so it could be kind of a negative connotation for a lot of people. And I would really encourage the idea of making friends with your triggers, the idea of, hey, I see you there. I see you there, little purple guy, and I notice that you're being pushed. Notice that trigger is being pulled. And getting to be on a first name basis, right? Get to know them, get to have a really good sense of who they are and what they are and how they affect you on a day-to-day basis. Because once you have made friends with those triggers, once you have identified that sitting in front of the TV is a trigger for you to sit down and eat mindlessly, you can go, oh, I have a choice. I have a choice when I sit down and watch TV. And a big hour-long discussion that I have with a lot of people and in the workshop is, what are those 3 choices? When we get triggered, what can we do about it? But the first step to that is just noticing, what are my triggers? What does push me? For me, it was getting into a fight with my now husband, who is then my boyfriend. When we would get into some kind of tiff or argument, that was a big trigger for me. I felt ashamed, I felt angry, I felt, whatever it was on that given day. And that was a big trigger for me to go and actively choose behaviors that were harmful. But I didn't notice it. It took me a long time to notice that there was that correlation, that there was that moment between this happened, I had an argument with my loved one, and I'm going to go choose to over-exercise or overeat or whatever it was going to be. And Viktor Frankl talks about the gap, right, the space between the stimulus and response. And when you notice what the stimulus is, when you make friends with these triggers, that space gets bigger. That space to choose gets bigger. And then you can start making those choices that we can go into and talk about. So, and the last tool, and this is really if I could, I guess, impart wisdom upon, would be this last tool, and it's to ask for support. We are a very isolationist society. We're I got this, I'm on my own, I can do this. I'm not going to ask a friend, right? What was it? And Who Wants to Be a Millionaire? The last thing people do is phone a friend, right? They got to get it themselves first. And that's not necessarily the case. And you don't, it's funny because we don't want to call someone and say, I'm about to dig into a bag of Chips Ahoy, can you help? That may not be a good choice, right? That may not be helpful. But when you can ask for support, just reach out and text someone and, hey, I'm struggling a little bit today, or hey, I need to just talk for a minute. Do you have 5 seconds? That can be very, very powerful. Simply breaking the cycle by getting someone else who loves you on the line in some capacity can really change the path, right? The course of your next decisions. And sometimes you need a coach. Sometimes there are those moments where you really do just need help. You need someone to give you those next steps, those next tools to make decisions. So I'll put this up here, and then I'll hop back on and kind of talk face-to-face a little bit. Coaching is really a helpful thing. I have actually recently hired a coach in another capacity, in a strength capacity, and my life has been so much better for it. The things that I offer are, decreasing pain, increasing vitality, building strength, and generally finding hope. It's a hopeless place to be, to feel like you don't have options. I offer free consultations, no hassle, no hard sell, nothing. Or if you just want more information, you can hop onto my website and sign up for for my emails. There's a quote down there. It's a loving thing. It's a client that I care very deeply for, and it meant a lot that she said that. And I'll put this back up at the end of the webinar, but wanted to hop back on and chat with you guys a little bit more. So I'll hop back over here. We'll turn off screen share. Let's see here. And hopefully you guys could see all those. Okay, stop screen sharing here, and hopefully you can see me again. So if you have any questions, I would love to answer them. I'm gonna check my phone real quick and see if there are any on the Facebook page. But you can also use the chat box over here. Hopefully you should be able to see the chat box on the right-hand side here. You're welcome to ask questions, or again, hop over onto my Facebook page, and you can leave it on a thread there. It's just Angelinet Coach is there. So I'm going to pull that up really quickly so I can check and see if there are questions that I'm not seeing or not answering. So I'll talk a little bit about kind of my journey and how this came about. The process for me was trying everything else. You know, I literally tried cleanses, I tried diets, I tried pretty much anything you can think of. I tried it, and after going through rounds of telling my clients, honestly, and I still feel shameful about this sometimes, don't diet. It's, you don't need to diet. It's terrible. It's bad for you. It's not helpful. You'll yo-yo, all these things. I would do it. I would go home and I would get tired of how I was eating, and I would get tired of binging and over-exercising. I was tired of feeling really bad about that, and I would start a cleanse, is what I called it. The diet industry and the fitness industry, I hate saying this because I'm a part of it, but the fitness industry makes a lot of money telling people that there's one reason, there's one answer, there's one solution. And that is, unfortunately or fortunately, very not true. Everyone is very unique, very different, has different needs, different hopes, different desires. So there's never one answer. And if I could send you something, it would be that there is nothing wrong with you if those haven't worked for you. If diets and cleanses and 21-day transformations haven't worked for you, it says nothing about you as a human. It simply says that that is not the thing, right? There is no thing that will fix you. And I talk really extensively with my clients about this. There's nothing wrong with you. There is nothing wrong with you as a human or as a person. There's simply choices that can be made or not made to help you feel better. My choice today was to not wash my hair. I don't feel great about it. But it doesn't say that I'm a lazy person or that I'm an unhygienic person. So it's beginning to change that mindset from, if I could only find that thing that would fix me, to how can I care for myself? How can I actually make that choice day to day to be loving toward myself? And the really cool thing about that, the really cool thing about choosing to love yourself, is that it gives the people around you permission to do the same. Okay, it gives the people around you permission to choose what is healthful for them, what is helpful for them. We feel selfish sometimes, right? I'm gonna go to the gym. That's selfish. I feel terrible taking the time out for myself. But who does it give permission to that you're leaving to go to the gym, or that you're gonna choose to eat a salad or drink some water today, or not eat a salad, right? Who does it tell that it's okay that today, I'm gonna mindlessly eat a little bit? I talk a little bit too about emotional eating is not a terrible thing. Stress eating is not a bad thing. It doesn't make you a bad person. It doesn't mean you have no self-control. I still emotionally eat. My in-laws are in town, and it's a lot of people in the house, and I love them dearly. And every once in a while I found myself just, having an extra snack that maybe I wasn't really aware of or mindful of. Because there's just a lot of extra energy and a lot of extra stuff going on. Not really stress eating or emotional eating, even just in what do we call it? In response to internal or external stimulus, right? So just knowing that there is nothing bad or wrong or something to fix about you when these things come up. So I'm gonna pull that last slide back up, but first I just wanted to reiterate kind of some descriptions we had gone over. The idea that mindless eating is the eating without noticing what's going on in your body, eating without noticing what's going on in your skin. The idea that mindful eating is being more aware of your eating habits, the sensations you experience when you eat, and the thoughts and emotions you have about food. It is more about how you eat than what you eat. Okay, so again, those 5 tools really briefly, just so you all have them, you can take notes or whatever. Tool number 1, mindfulness meditation and body scanning, super, super helpful for more than just mindful eating. The second tool, again, was watching those hunger and fullness scales during, before, and after your meals. Okay. Tool number 3 was extending your nutrition cycle out into a 48-hour day. You know, can I give myself the leeway to adjust for 48 hours rather than 24? Tool number 4 was making friends with your triggers, you know, getting to know those little roommates that live in your head and in that apartment building up there. And tool number 5 is asking for support. And that could be nutrition support, that could be emotional support, that could be, hey, I just need to text someone and check in because I'm about to eat this bag of Chips Ahoy and I could really use something else to insert itself into today. Okay, so those are kind of all of the tools that I had gone over. I blocked this out for about an hour because I wasn't sure how many questions we would have, but I will let you guys hop off early. I'm gonna bring this back up real quickly just so you can kind of go over this, and I will, oops, screen share again. Desktop, start screen share. Okay. And again, my name's Anne. I'm here in Madison, Wisconsin. If you are ever in town, please stop by, come say hello. But coaching is available online. I do have online coaching packages. Those are over at the website. They are kind of in process, in beta mode. So if you don't see something there that works for you and you're interested in coaching, please call me. Again, your first consultation is just some time to talk and see if there's something we can do for you in the moment. A lot of times there's an in the moment answer, a good choice that could be made. I called a nutrition consultant about, it's been a year ago now, just because in the moment I was so cooked. I needed to do something to care for myself. And I called someone, she ended up being a very big part of my life, Dory Freeberg over at Lancaster now, over at Healing Through Food, love her. But just reaching out, picking up the phone, calling someone just in the moment, in the middle of a really bad day, gave me, you know, even I don't even think she answered the phone. I think I left a message, but I had done something, right? I had made a choice to take care of myself. So all that to say, I am available. Again, you can sign up for more information on my website at www.annjelinek.com. You'll get a free gift if you sign up for the email list, so feel free to do that. This is up on YouTube, so you are welcome to share it. Please share it. It's funny, mindless eating, and when it comes down to binge eating and disordered eating, it lives in the dark, it lives in the quiet, it lives where no one sees it. And you never know who's struggling with this. You know, the people that we see that even look pretty normal on the outside can be struggling pretty heavily. And I would encourage you to share this on Facebook, share it on your email list, share it with your friends if you feel like there's someone that would benefit from it or get a little bit of hope. That's my big intention. Yeah, I guess that's about it. If you all need anything, please feel free to reach out. I like to close my yoga classes with the invocation, Jivamukti invocation, which is Loka Samasta Sukhi no Bhavantu. May all beings be happy, may they be free, and may my life contribute to that in some way. And I really mean that. May you all be happy. May you find freedom in your daily life, in your nutrition. And if I can contribute in that in some way, or just generally, may that be. Thank you so much. I'm gonna click back over here and hope you all have a wonderful afternoon. Happy Saturday. All right, namaste. Thank you.